Today, I'm going to be giving you guys a buyer's guide on the LG SM9000. Now, I'm going to be giving you the scoop from my professional experience, having seen it, worked around this product, and just letting you know if it's worth your time or not. This is not a consumer perspective, so take what I say with a grain of salt if you must, but we will be getting down to business and letting you know what the deal is. Now, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about the number one reason most of you are probably looking at this product, HDMI 2.1. Now, it's important to be realistic. You are not going to be getting the major benefits of HDMI 2.1. So what we're going to do is just kind of analyze that, and I really hope that it's not going to be construed or taken the wrong way, because I'm not doing this to bash the product or anything like that. I'm doing this so that you know the reality behind what you're getting yourself into. So let's look at the biggest benefit, 8K. The 8K resolution is just not happening. Simply put, it's a pipe dream. We are not seeing that in 2019. Our internet is too slow, our hardware is too slow and outdated. It's just not possible. In fact, most people probably don't know this, but we are still rocking 3840 by 2160p. That is not native 4K. In fact, native 4K is 4096 by 2160p. We are actually getting a scaled down version of 4K because our current hardware cannot even replicate the real 4K. And now we're supposed to anticipate going to 8K. It is so ridiculous. Every time I hear somebody say something about 8K, I almost laugh at them, even though they might not necessarily know what's going on because of this simple fact. Now, if you look at the other things that they're trying to sell you on and they're trying to pull you into, then you look at the frame rate argument or the frame rate marketing ploy. And that's going to be the high frame rate control that comes out of HDMI 2.1. This is probably the most laughable because high frame rate control is talking about 120 frames a second with 4K being the baseline. So 4K at 120p, that's not happening. We don't even have movies, right, hitting 60 frames a second. Movies are usually capped around 24 frames a second, and in a similar fashion, they aren't even reaching native 4K. In fact, most movies are actually just upscaled from 2K, and then you actually don't even see the real 4K file, as some of these movies weren't even shot in native 4K back in the day. So it's really laughable when a lot of these movies are now supposed to, be benefiting from some new technology that, again, it's just not happening, guys. Now, when we look at the console gaming side of things, that's even doubly true. Console gamers have been locked at about 30 FPS for the longest time, and it's only in recent years that we've been seeing 60 FPS be the norm. Well, the problem with that is now you have new competitors on the horizon. You have Sony and Xbox talking about Xbox Scarlet and PlayStation 5. Now, these consoles, let me just put this out there for any of you guys wondering, these consoles will not be a native 4K at 120 frames a second. You'd be lucky if you get a steady 4K 60, and if you need proof of this, go look at an RTX 2080 Ti and see it struggle and dip down from 60 FPS. Not even the mid-range 2070 or 2060 graphics cards. So this is very important to know when you're talking about, again, investing in the PlayStation 5 architecture or the Xbox Scarlet, and you're doing all this for the future. It's also important to know that, again, in a similar fashion, if your frame rates are capped at 60 frames a second, you're probably, realistically guys, on these newer consoles, you're probably only going to be seeing 1440p. 1440p at 120 hertz, which again, we have TVs on the market right now that do that. So you don't really need to upgrade to HDMI 2.1 to get scaled back on. And I'm telling you right now, there'll be a lot of drop promises as usual with manufacturers, just simply because there are buzzwords. But that doesn't mean HDMI 2.1 is completely useless though, because there is a huge benefit in that you do have the ability to experience eARC, which holds lossless files for Dolby Atmos, which is amazing. Now, if you have an adequate audio setup for this, then this is a huge benefit for you. And yeah, maybe it would be worth investing in a television that can support that. But for me, my current Dolby Atmos setup is just fine. I don't have any particular qualms about this, so I don't think a lot of people would really care too much because Dolby Atmos is already pretty amazing. Now, that being said, let's look at some of the other aspects of this television. The brightness, for example. The brightness is really good on this television. I found whether it's in SDR or in HDR, you're going to be experiencing highlights in pretty decent places. It's pretty well balanced, it feels very good, and you don't really want for more brightness. There was actually no point when working on this TV that I sat back and I was like, you know what, this thing could use an extra 100 nits. It just never happened. So I think that was really good. This is a pretty bright TV for what it is. It's decent, it does the job well. And while we're on the topic of brightness, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about color. Color is amazing on this display. It actually beats out the Samsung Q90R, which I currently still think is one of the worst high-end TVs of 2019. But that being said, this TV does a lot for color. It's both poppy and vivid, but at the same time, they give you a lot of the natural skin tones that you're looking for out of objects. I actually don't know how they do it. It's pretty impressive. Now, on the topic of good things, we can talk about the viewing angles. LG definitely has some awesome viewing angles because they're rocking the IPS technology, and viewing angles are great for those who have to sit off at wide angles or have weird living room setups. So this is definitely going to be good for you guys. Now, there is a bit of a problem though. The problem comes into play when we look at the black levels. The black levels are the downside to IPS, and it is even more pronounced than you would think. So whether it's a bright room, moderately lit, or dark room, the black levels will be a problem. You will see blooming, you will see uniformity issues, gray-black. This TV does not produce inky black levels like what LG is trying to promise. They are lying. It is simply put false advertising. And if you compare it to something like a Vizio P-Series Quantum 2019 edition, a lot of the 2018 QLEDs that Samsung has, I mean, it becomes very clear that they're not optimizing full array technology. They're really just not trying. Now, if you were to compare it to some 2019 TVs, you might have a different result. Like I know the Sony X950G is horrible for black levels, but that being said, this TV's not bad at all with color and brightness, so maybe that might be enough to make up for that black level lapse for some people. So that's gonna come down to a discretionary thing. Now, when we're talking about the motion performance of this television outside of the aforementioned HDMI 2.1 quotation mark benefits, which you probably will never see anyway, it's important to note that this TV has average motion. It's not bad, but it's definitely not great either. So low frame rate content, like on most TVs today, is gonna be pretty choppy and pretty jittery. It's just the nature of the beast. High frame rate content, however, remains pretty good, and you don't have any real problems to speak of, so hey, that's a good thing there. Now, when we're talking about the audio performance, most people probably are going to invest in a sound system, so it's important to note that that's an option for you. But if you don't have a sound system, the sound on this TV is okay. It's not great, but it's enough to get you by. Now, when we talk about whether this TV is a pass or fail, ultimately for a guy like me, I would not recommend this product, just simply because for the money, you're better off waiting for the Hisense H9F. You're even better off getting TVs like the Vizio P-Series Quantum of 2019, the Hisense H8F. There are options out there, right? And I think with so many options in a well-saturated market, especially when we're talking about full-array LED TVs, you're definitely doing yourself a disservice by picking this TV up for top dollar. The reality of the situation is you can even buy yourself a 2018 Samsung Q8FN, which is still my go-to full-array local dimming television for gaming and movies and all-around usage. I think it's a fantastic TV, not a plug for Samsung as nobody sponsors the channel. It's just something that I think you should know if you're looking for a full array that, again, doesn't get burn in, because I know that is a reason a lot of you guys are probably looking at an LG without OLED technology behind it. So just wanted to point that out for you guys. Now, that being said, I know that this will probably put a lot of people off because there's not a physical product here, to which I will just say, hey, if you guys are looking for a television, make sure you stop by our Amazon store in the description below. And if you find something you like, check it out, buy it. That helps the channel out. Watching ads helps the channel out. Literally anything you guys can do to help the channel generate more revenue will get more products in for hands-on review. I'm an independent guy. I'm just doing this as a service to all you guys. So if you can, please look out for the channel and help us in return with likes and shares and things like that. The things YouTube likes to look at. So that way we can, again, get more of what you're looking for, and I can cover more of these things for you. You know, we're a team, covering ground is what we're trying to do. And I hope I did that in this review here today and let you guys know that basically it's not all bad, but it's not all perfect either. So when you're watching those social media influencers using their social media accounts to, again, manipulate and draw people in, don't listen to that stuff. Just take everything they say with a grain of salt, like me. You know, I'm not perfect. I know a lot of what I'm saying might make a lot of you guys who maybe are LG fans angry. But the reality is, I'm just looking out for you. I really want you to make the right decision. Nothing's worse than having to lug a TV back to the store because you've noticed that you have bad black levels. And that's essentially what this TV is. This is a TV that looks good in the store, but maybe if you get it home, you run into some problems if you didn't do a black level check. That being said, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below, or stop by the live stream every Friday from 7 p.m. through 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have any other questions in general, I'd be more than happy to help you guys out. Thanks for watching the #1 brand in honesty. It's been a blast, and until the next video,